shop. I received a decent amount of positive feedback from the beginning measurement tools that I showed and how to read them. So we're going to continue on that same vein of beginner video in March, and we'll probably get to it at the end of March. We'll put out another beginner video. But I'm going to let you guys choose the actual video. I'm going to give you a couple of choices. So the first choice is going to be speeds and feeds and surface finish. Basically a video all about surface finish. What the speed and feed actually does to the surface finish as it changes. Also what different nose radiuses on tools do to surface finish, having a supported part versus unsupported part, how to get rid of some chatter, especially when parting, because I know that's kind of a harder subject for somebody new to machining to do, is to part off easily. So we can take a look at all that kind of facets of that. Or the other choice would be external threading, and this will be single point in the lathe. And we'll take a look at acme threading, and well, actually first we'll take a look at different types of threads, just thread forms in general, and what they are. We'll show you, I have a machinery's handbook, we'll show you some pictures of what, say, like a pipe taper looks like as compared to a Whitworth, as compared to a square thread, acme thread, things like that, just the general differences between them. And we'll actually cut an acme thread on the lathe, and we'll cut a standard 60-degree thread. We'll cut both a left-hand thread and a right-hand thread on the lathe. And that will include using the threading dial, how the threading dial works. That'll also include grinding the threading tools, both the 60-degree threading tool and also the Acme tool, how the standard 60-degree threading gauge works, and also the Acme threading gauge works. So it's going to be kind of a longer video, and it'll be separated into different sections. More, in other words, not just clumped all into one video. I'll probably split it up into at least two parts, maybe three, depending on how long it gets. The one thing that we won't cover in that will be actually thread pitch measuring, using the threading wires and things like that. All of that will be done on a separate video where we can go through the different classes of fit and things like that. That would be a separate video. So those are going to be two choices. And the way I'm going to go about the voting for this is I'm going to put two comments in the comment section made by me, and one's just going to say speeds and feeds and surface finish, and the other one's going to say external threading. And depending on which ones you guys want to see, just give that comment a thumbs up. Whichever comment gets the most thumbs up by the time I end up wanting to make the video, will be the video that we make. So that's how we're going to go by that. Now in the meantime, the project for today is I'm going to get to the rings. And what we're going to be using is this, which is a 1-inch bar of CP2 grade titanium. Now this is the lower grade of titanium. It's slightly softer and a little bit more machinable than the other ones. The reason why I chose this grade is two reasons. One, I only have a finite amount of available horsepower on the lathe, so I wanted to give myself every advantage I can to be able to cut this easily. And also is the fact that if for any reason down the road the ring has to ever be cut off, it can be done with a standard ring cutter. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a ring cutter before. I've used a couple of them in the past when I was an EMT. It kind of looks like a can opener with a screw on the end that's attached to a hardened, looks like a mini circular saw blade, and it has this little scoop with a thumb handle on it. And what you do is hook underneath the ring, press that little thumb handle, and that brings the blade down and puts pressure against the blade, puts the ring against the blade and pressure against it, and you just turn the little hand wheel until you cut through the ring. Even on gold rings, it took a decent amount of pressure and time to get through it. Granted, part of it was because I worked for a private ambulance company, so the ring cutter was probably the cheapest one they could find. But just in case, like I said, the lower grade of titanium should be able to be cut through with a decent hardened blade ring cutter. So I have all the measurements of my wife's ring, and that's the one we're going to be doing first. My ring is going to actually have an insert in it, and that's going to be made of copper. I don't know if my idea will work on how to put the insert in there, but we're going to give it a shot. So We'll get to that after. So her ring is going to kind of be a clone of her engagement ring. It's going to be roughly the same size and just you know, just a band. So we're going to make a form tool and form a nice radius on it. We got to bore the middle, and we got to reduce the outside diameter down. Now, more than likely, I'm going to have to make an arbor of some sort. So we're going to make an expandable arbor, probably out of this piece of aluminum, to be able to hold the ring once we part it off. Because we're going to have to. My plan is to reduce the bore the middle, reduce the outside, get that measurement all set, part off my length, and then mount it to the arbor, and then that would allow me to get the radius tool in there and get both sides and clean both sides up. Because once I part that off, I'm going to have to clean that side up again anyway. So it's going to have to be on something to hold it, and also I have to polish it after the fact. So that's my plan on how to do this. Now, it's going to be a 5/64 radius on there, and I probably not going to be able to do it on the bench grinder, just because the wheel's too big, the radius is too small. But I can do it with a Dremel tool. The only thing is I don't have a stone that's small enough, and all I have right now is the flat stone. So tomorrow I'll probably run by Home Depot or something and grab a stone that matches that radius, and we can grind the form tool. But tonight I want to get this drilled, bored, and see how this acts on the lathe, and see what kind of a finish we can get with the carbide tools we have, and you know, a lighter weight lathe. So the only problem is this is 3/4 inch diameter, 1 inch diameter, and I only have a 3/4 inch spindle bore in that machine. So this is going to have to be sawed off with a bandsaw. I wish I could just put it through the headstock, but you know, that's the price you pay for having a smaller lathe. So I'm going to set this up on the bandsaw real quick, and we're going to saw through this, and we'll get to machining after that. Okay, so we're going to start on my wife's ring, because that's the easiest one to do, and it's just going to be a plain band. I did make a quick prototype just to get the actual perfect measurement on it and just see proportions wise what we want. And I need to make it thinner than this, and she doesn't want a full radius on it like her engagement ring. She likes the flat on the top. So we're just going to radius both edges, just to, you know, smooth it out and make it look nice. I haven't decided yet whether or not I'm going to grind a special tool for that, or whether I'm just going to hand form it with a little bit of a file and some emery cloth. So we'll figure that out after the fact. So now the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to be using the 4-jaw chuck, just because I can get this nice and straight, and also this chuck is in better shape than my 3-jaw chuck. The 3-jaw chuck, it's an older chuck. I mean, it works and serves its purposes, but the jaws are a little bit bell-mouthed, so we're going to be going with the 4-jaw here. And so the plan is to bore this out, and then we're going to measure, we're going to bore this out, we're going to turn the outside diameter down to the width we want, and then we're going to part it off, and then we're going to make an arbor to put this on, so that way there I can radius both edges of it after I part it off, and it'll also give me a handle to polish it on my polisher, my buffer over there. So that's the way we're going to do it. I could probably radius the edge before I part it off completely, but if I put it on the arbor, I can get a nice tool in there, and we can polish it up pretty good. So that's the plan. That way there, I'll also be able to show you how to make an arbor to hold the ring. So it may be an extra step that you may not have to do, but we're just going to do it. So we're going to set this up in the 4-jaw chuck. I have them set roughly at 1 inch. And pop our piece in here, and we'll just tighten these down. Now, if you pull the bull gear pin, it makes it really easy to turn the chuck rather than having to turn the whole drive system with it. So we'll just snug this up. Okay, so you can see we're running out pretty good there. So let me get my indicator. Okay, just had to grab my dial indicator. It was on the opposite side of the room. So I'm going to mount our good old Noga here, and I love this mount. I love this thing, especially on these smaller lathes, because you can contort this thing any way you want. So we'll get this in. Hopefully you can see it, or mostly see it. So we're roughly halfway into the center of that workpiece there, and we're touching all the way around. So you can see we're running out a little bit. So what we want to do is we want to find our lowest spot, which is going to be right there. Okay, we're going to set our 0 at the lowest spot, and we're going to find our high spot, which is right there, which is about 26. Okay, so now we want to half that reading, so half of 26 is 23. So we're going to turn the chuck, I'm sorry, half of 26 is 13. We're going to turn our chuck until we get to 13 on a reading. And then we're going to 0 our indicator. Now we're going to go to our next available jaw here, and we're going to bring that reading to 0. So we're minus 10, so it's got to come towards me. So we'll loosen this side up a little bit and tighten this until we get to 0. Okay. Make sure we're snugged up. We'll go to the next jaw, set of jaws, and we're minus 7, so we got to come towards us. So we'll loosen this. And tighten that. Now just by doing that, we should be pretty damn close. So you can see we're about 1/1000th or so. So there's the high spot right there. So we gotta go that way just a hair. So we're within like a 0.5 or so. There might be a little bit of dip in that bar, but that's more than good enough for what we're doing. So there you go. Alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the camera angle around. And the first thing we're going to do is we want to, well, I'm going to face this off camera. And then we want to open this up so that we can bore it. I'm going to open it up to 3/8 of an inch so that we can get this boring bar in there. And this is slightly smaller than 3/8 of an inch. And then we can open up that bore to whatever size we want. Obviously, each person's finger is different. So I'm just going to make it to the finger that I have. Okay, so we're going to drill that there for a 3/8 hole. And I'm going to do it in one step. I'm going to do a smaller diameter first and then the 3/8, just so I'm not plowing straight through that with the 3/8. I don't know how hard this is going to be. So, just being cautious. My center drill first. That's cutting through perfectly fine. No surprises there. I don't have to go very deep, only like a 1/4 inch or so. As deep as I really have to go with this. There's a 1/4 inch. we'll give it a little bit extra clearance while we're boring it and parting off. I'll give it about a half an inch. Okay, so I'm good with that. Set up the boring bar here. Now you can see it gives me enough to get in there and still have room to move around a little bit. Now this insert here doesn't have any kind of chip breaker on it, so I'm expecting stringy chips, but it shouldn't be that bad because we're not going in that far, and we're probably not going to be removing that much material on each pass. My feed rate is going to be 5 thousandths per revolution, and like I said, we're just going to take it slow. Might just keep this camera angle here and see how that turns out. So, okay. So it's going to come in. There's my touch. I can hear it. Set my collar at 0, and we'll try taking 50 and see what that does. Okay, I have the bore all set, and that is the finish that I was getting on it. That's not polished at all. What I want to do is I'm going to come in here with another tool, and I'm going to radius this inside here, or just chamfer it, and then I'll take just a piece of emery, piece of sandcloth, and just polish that out. That's where your finger's going to slide. So you want to make sure that there's no sharp edges and it's nice and round, so that you can slide it off and on your finger easy, and your skin kind of won't bunch up and catch on that. Okay, that's pretty good. Now I just wrapped a piece of sandpaper around the shank of a drill bit, so that way there I'm not sticking my finger in there. So I'm going to reset you up out here so that we can actually cut this down to the actual width that we want, the outside diameter. Okay, so now we just got to reduce the outside diameter. And the original, the engagement ring is only 50 thousandths thick, 50 thousandths per side. So this I'm going to make a little bit bigger. I'm going to do this, the actual thickness of a side as 75 thousandths thick, just a little bit thicker. And so just so we don't have to turn down a whole bunch of material that we're not going to end up using, what I'm going to do here, just take a quick depth reading of what this bore is, roughly. And we're at 450 thousandths. So what we're going to do is take the tool, and this is one of the tools that James had given me. And we're just going to touch the tool tip off on the edge here gently. And we're going to run my carriage stop, or I have a dial indicator mounted to my carriage here. I'm going to run that up. Set it at 0. And we're going to go in 400. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll reset that at 0. So that way there I don't have to turn down a whole bunch of material that I don't need. So we're going to do the same thing that we did before. We're running the same speeds, same feed rate of 5 thousandths per inch here. 5 thousandths per revolution. I come till we touch, and as I touch, I set 0. And we're going to take 50 thousandths in our first pass. Doesn't seem to be doing too bad. Alright, so I have my parting blade set up here. I know it said boring bar, but I meant parting blade. And I just knocked the burr off the edge here. So we want, I want the width of this ring to be slightly wider than the engagement ring. The engagement ring's 100 thousandths wide. So I'm going to do this to 125 thousandths wide. And this is a 3/32 parting blade. So what was that? It's 94 thousandths. So what I'm going to do is just touch the edge of the part here, and I very gently and I have an indicator on the carriage here. I'm going to set that at 0 and back out. I'm going to go 125 thousandths, so there's 125. I'm going to reset the 0 again, and then we're going to go in 94. So there's 94. Okay, and we can verify that real quick with our dial calipers. And whoop, I just knocked it out of alignment. Not going to be a perfect reading, but actually it is perfectly on 125 thousandths. So that's definitely where we want to be. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add about 5 or 6 thousandths or so, just because I may need to face that side and it's not really going to show up in anything. So we're going to lock down the carriage. I'm going to slow down the lathe here. I'm going to try our lowest direct drive speed. Okay, and we're going to lock down the carriage. I'm going to need to get some cutting oil. I'm going to try parting this off. Now, I don't know if you can tell, but there's a slight angle on this parting blade towards this edge. So there's an angle like this. And the reason for that is when you part off, you have that little bit of flash, a little bit of a piece that doesn't necessarily cut, it only breaks off. And I want to try to keep that on the part in the chuck and not the part that falls off. So that's why that angle is there, so that this side will break through first. So we'll see if we get chatter or whatever, and you can overcome chatter by feed pressure. So I'm going to be doing this by hand because it's not going to take much to go through this. So this parting pretty well, actually. It's parting really well. Okay, we're getting close. And there we are. Alright, you can see that that little flash piece that breaks off is still stuck to the piece in the chuck, but the piece that came off is clean. So I can just continue feeding in and just knock that piece off. So that's pretty much our ring. Now we have to figure out, okay, so there's our ring. So now what we want to do is I'm going to show you a way of setting this up in the other chuck, in the 3-jaw chuck, to knock off that inside edge on this side. You can see that burr there, and we want to round it out just like we did with this outside edge. Okay, and then we can put it in the mandrel that we're going to make real quick and take care of the outside edges. Okay, so now comes the fun part. What I want to do is straighten my camera out. I want to make a little mini expanding mandrel to hold this. Okay, so, and we're going to make it out of this aluminum. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the 3-jaw. We're going to face this, and we're going to turn this down to slightly smaller than the inside diameter of this this ring here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to drill in, tap the front for a 1/4 28 screw. Okay, so and what we're going to do is we're going to split it. I'm going to go over to my vertical bandsaw. I'm going to a horizontal bandsaw rather. I'm going to flip it vertically, and all I'm going to do is just make a slice right down the middle, and then another slice on the other side. So it splits into 4 pieces. And then as you can see, the head of this is tapered, so when we tighten this into that hole, it's going to spread apart, and then that's what's going to grip our ring. And then what we're going to do is we're going to put it in the 4-jaw chuck, and then we can indicate that arbor and get the outside to run perfectly true. In hindsight, it would probably have been easier to turn the outside diameter while it was on the mandrel. The only problem with that, what I was worried about, is just tool pressure actually physically moving this on the mandrel. So that's why I did it this way. So I'll just throw this in here. Okay, so we got it split. I missed a little bit on one of them, but that's no big deal. I was just doing it with my horizontal bandsaw turned up and just sliding it across, but we're in the middle and we're where we need to be, so we can put the screw in here. Okay, and grab that screwdriver that I just had. Okay, so we're on there, and now we can this in here. Okay, just took a little bit, took me about like 5 minutes or so of dialing in. Just had a tap on this face to get it square, and then tighten this down, and we're running pretty damn true. So now we can do whatever we want to the outside. So I'm going to radius this outside edge really a little bit, and radius this other outside edge a little bit. Get rid of that burr and make it nice and rounded over. Okay, so here's the finished product. You can see I was able to round that off a little bit with the paper. We had a nice lead-in chamfer on both sides so it doesn't pinch our skin when we put it on. I can't get it on any of my fingers, but and you can see, besides the fingerprints, I ran it real quick on my buffer, and that's the way it came out. I got to get some. The only polish I have is meant for softer metals, not hard metals. So I'll have to get something for hard metals and go over this again, and also get probably one of those little Dremel buffers that go on the Dremel to be able to just shine up the inside. And you can see we still have enough room in there for an engraving if we want to. And that's it. And her engagement ring is white gold, so this should match it pretty good. Now me, I just bored out a hole in a piece of Delrin here to use as a gauge. And hey, look at that homemade ring gauge. Look at that. And actually this is, let's see what we got on the diameter here. 846 thousandths is what I have there, and it's just a little loose for my comfort. A size 12 ring is 842 thousandths, so I'll probably shoot for 840 on the bore size, and that should be pretty good. You can see it doesn't fit on my ring finger very well, but it actually fits good on my other finger, on my right hand though. But yeah, it's just slightly too loose for my comfort, especially if I'm going to be having it on at work. Don't want to lose it. So now my ring is going to be different, and mine is going to have an insert in it. So if we have 840 thousandths, that leaves us with 160 thousandths. 160 thousandths diameter on the outside, so it'll be 80 thousandths per side. So I'll have the actual side of the ring will be 80 thousandths. What I'll do is I'll make a groove that'll be 30 thousandths deep. So we have the actual ring thickness will be 50 thousandths, and our insert, which will probably be made from copper, we'll see how that works out, will be 30 thousandths thick. So I'm going to do the ring exactly the same way. The only difference is it's going to be thicker. Exactly how thick, or wider rather, exactly how wide, I haven't really decided. It's going to be probably slightly wider than this here. You know, I don't want anything huge, and I want it to be comfortable on my hand. So let's see, what is this here? This is 200 thousandths here. I don't know how quarter inch looks. I don't know about that dimension yet. We'll figure that out. But in the meantime, what we're going to do is basically the same steps, just with a different bore. So rather than doing the whole thing, we'll just do highlights of a video through it. Okay, so I want to make an insert for this that'll go in the middle of this band, and I'm going to make it out of copper, but I want some way to retain it, and we're going to be using a little bit of a dovetail and seeing if this works. So I made a tiny tool here. So what we're going to do is we're going to touch the edge of the part here, which is right there. We're going to zero an indicator on my my carriage here, and I know to get this directly in the middle of where I want the groove to be, I have to move over 167 thousandths. I'm going to plunge in 30 thousandths and then move 5 thousandths to the left, 5 thousandths to the right. So we'll see if this works. So there's 100, there's 60, there's 65, there's 67, right there. So I'm going to lock my carriage down there. And I'm going to grab my calipers, and we should be about 75 thousandths from the edge here. Which we just about are. Okay, so we're going to turn this on here. I'm going to go until we touch. There's my touch. Set 0. I'm going to plunge in. Of course, we're going to chatter like a bastard.
see here. Try slowing down the machine, putting them back here. There's our groove. So now by doing that also, we know that I was 15 thousandths smaller. So what we'll do is the copper strip that's going to go in there, we'll make it 115 thousandths, and when I heat it up and tap it in, hopefully it'll fill into that little the tiny dovetail in there. So right now all I'm going to do is speed this up and just take a piece of emery and go right over the top of this and just deburr that edge really, really lightly. Okay, so now we're going to leave well enough alone with that. We're actually going to take this entire chuck off so that it's still in our setting when we put it back on. And we're going to move over to cutting a piece of copper to fit in there. Okay, so here's a piece of 1 1/8" copper in here. And it's thicker than, the wall thickness is thicker than what I need. But once I get it in place, I'll turn it down. So my idea is to part this off to the width that we need and heat it up and tap it in, and hopefully that dovetail will hold it in place. At least that's the hope. So what we'll try to do here, we'll get our parting blade. And what we want to do is use my carriage indicator here, which we'll just move down a little bit. I'm going to touch the blade against the side here. I'm going to set that indicator. Oops. Set that at 0. Actually, I gotta get this tool block here straight. Let me get that straight. Okay. Now we can do that. Okay, so touch the tool to the side here. And 0 our indicator. I know that we need 115 thousandths, so there's 115, plus we need half of, or the width of the tool bit, which is again 94 thousandths. So we'll lock the carriage down there. We should be able to part off. I'm going to use oil to part off, but I'll degrease this before I start to heat it up and try to get it in. So we'll see if this works. Okay, we're slightly bigger than that groove. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deburr that side and then get my torch. We'll snip this, we'll stretch it out, and we'll heat it up and try to tap it in, see what happens. So my camera managed to run out of tape as I wanted to go put this in. So what I did is I heated it up and tapped it in, tapped it all the way around, and cut it nice and flush. And I just took a little bit of silver solder and popped it in on that joint. Hopefully that'll all clean up, and all I'll see is just maybe a tiny little line of that. You see, we're proud of the surface, so we're gonna cut that down. So hopefully this comes out like I want it to. We'll see. so we got our high-speed steel tool in here just because that tends to be gummy, and we'll take that down. And there it is. That's not too bad. You can't even tell where the joint is. Let me see if I can find it. Right there. Right there's the joint. When we get to the bench, I'll show you that. So now all we have to do here, really, is pot it off over here. And that's radiused. I'm gonna just hit that real quick. Okay, so here it is. Could use a little bit more polishing. I'll have to get some more polishing compound and go at it. Get a little bit of those tooling, those little lines out, but there's not really that many tooling marks. And I'm looking around to see if I can find the joint to show you. Even I can't see it anymore. Okay, so I found the joint. It actually took me a magnifying glass to find it. And there it is, right at the tip of my fingernail. You can barely make it out. Here's the copper. You can see a little bit of what looks like gold right there. And that is the silver solder. So just that tiny little bit is what's holding all this on, plus that groove. Now, you can't really feel anything with your fingernail. You can feel a little bit, but nothing that you're gonna really notice. But it came up pretty good. I cut the width down a little bit. It seemed a little bit too big. I made it 1/4 of an inch, but it seemed a little too big. So I cut it down, and I just did that by eye. Chamfered both edges, polished them out, and then that's it. So she is the finger good. It's a little bit looser than what I would like. I could have gone a little bit smaller with it, but you know, it's cold and dry down here, so I'm sure that during the summer and everything else, his finger's gonna swell. So if it doesn't work out, if I don't like the feeling of it for any reason, I can always make another one. But that's it. So there's mine, and there is hers. So, just gonna do the wedding, and then that's it.